Hello there, all my beautiful, fragrant, frisky dragon friends. I hope you are doing wonderful, whether it is the morning, afternoon, or evening. I hope you are having a wonderful one. We are back again with another perfume review. I've been wanting to do this one for a while, and that is to compare the Tresor, these are a couple Lancome fragrances, the Lancome La Nuit Tresor. This is the 2015, the older edition, and the new reformulated Lancome La Nuit Tresor from 2019. So let's get into these. I've had a lot of people say that these are really pretty, that, you know, they really, the original one is the one that people seem to like the most. You can definitely tell just from looking at these two bottles that the older one is a little warmer, a little more ambery, partly maybe due to the age of the fragrance, but also maybe to do with the difference in the fragrance composition, whereas the newer one has a more pink color in the perfume itself. Both of them are basically the same bottle. You know, they have this really pretty diamond shape. When you lay this on your table, of course, it's not going to stand up straight. It's going to sit to the side, which makes it, you know, quite unique. I really like the way that's done. It actually reminds me a little bit of an old perfume bottle. I'm trying to remember which fragrance this was. I'm thinking it's Yves Saint Laurent, but I am not for sure. It was called Baby Doll. I am pretty sure it was YSL. And that was in the late 90s. And it had, and I did wear that back then, it was very juicy and fruity and fizzy, and I really loved it in my early late teens, early 20s. But it had that kind of bottle that sat on its side like this, and so it kind of reminds me a little bit of that. You don't see that a whole lot in perfume, so I always appreciate an unusual bottle. The top is a plastic that is clear with a slightly smoky tint. The top does have the La Nuit Tresor punched into the top, and it has this very cool little ribbon around it with a black ribbon rose. It has a little black edging around the side, and it's faceted like a gemstone on the bottom. So I was able to get a hold of one of the vintage bottles. It took a while of searching because these are hard to find now. Most of the versions you're going to get are going to be the newer 2015 version. So let's go ahead and dig into this one. I'm going to go ahead and spray it because we like to let this air out while I read to you about the fragrance. Yeah, very delicious, kind of rosy gourmand really hits you. Slightly sweet, rosy gourmand kind of vibe right off the top. So the perfumers on this one and the new reformulation are Amandine Clerc-Marie and Christophe Renaud. Now, when I was reading about these two folks, it was very interesting because both of them, they have kind of a very diverse dossier of perfumes they've worked on, but they also were both co-creators of Aura by Mugler, which I absolutely love, which is a perfume that a lot of people don't. Some people really like this one, some people really don't, because it is a rather unusual scent, but both of the folks that worked on La Nuit worked on Mugler Aura, which I found to be very, very interesting. So the original one, this is the, let me check, make sure that I'm reading you the right one, and I am getting my info off of Fragrantica.com, and I will post the links below once I have posted this video. So in the original, the top note is pear, tangerine, and bergamot. And yes, you're definitely getting the sweetness of the pear. I can definitely smell that right away. The mid notes are going to be the strawberry, vanilla orchid, black rose, and passion fruit. And out of those, I probably smell the strawberry and the rose the most. There is vanilla in this, but it's not a very super strong vanilla. It definitely plays a more supporting role. Base notes are very, very gourmand. A lot of these praline, caramel, lychee, vanilla. Then we get some more woodsy notes. We get patchouli, incense, coumarin, papyrus, and again, some more, food-like notes with the coffee and licorice. So it has this very nice, warm, kind of seductive dry down, which is very pretty. And you can, even under the top note, because the pear, you know, for me, the pear note in perfume can be a hit or miss. This one isn't too bad. Sometimes it can be really overly sweet or overly syrupy. This one is blended pretty well in the original 2015 version, so I'm really not annoyed by it. The thing that I'm really loving here, because I'm a big strawberry fanatic, is I really like the strawberry that I can smell in this. It almost, you know, from the top is more that pear, strawberry, rose. That's mostly what I'm getting. I'm not getting as much of like the tangerine and bergamot, because those to me are brighter notes. And they do, again, play a more supportive role in this. There are a lot of notes in this. Just like just like in Mugler Aura, there's a lot of notes going on in this, but some definitely stand out more at the forefront. You know, it definitely has that sweetness, but it's not a cloying sweetness in my opinion. But if you don't like sweet perfumes, you won't like it, because it definitely, you know, has that sweetness. It's a good one. It's a really good one. You know, I think that as it dries down, I'm going to smell more of that praline caramel blend. I'm really picking up just a little bit more of like the coumarin and the coffee, the incense kind of smell under there. Because there's something just a little woodsy, but there's not anything outright woodsy. You're mostly getting that from that patchouli incense. It's almost, but not quite, almost a little bit leather-like, but in a really subtle, sweet, nicely blended way. Or almost maybe, not quite tobacco, more like a leather, but a really nice, sweet, subtle one would be in that base. All right, so let's let that one continue to unfold. And we're going to check out the new one. This is by the same perfumers, ostensibly reformulated this. Now this one is, you know, 2019. They came out with a new version of it. A lot of people that have recommended this to me have said they don't like this one as much. I have played around with these a little bit in advance. This is not the first time I'm smelling them. And so I will say that overall I think I do like the old one more. Not to say that the new version is bad by any means, but it's a lot more clean in a way. It's not as deep, it's not as rich. It doesn't have that more sensuous vibe to it, in my opinion. We're going to go ahead and read off the top notes. Oh yeah, it's a very different, oh yeah, very much more fruity in the outset. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so the difference, wow. Boy, smelling these side by side, I'm really getting the... Okay, so the old one where the sweetness was more in the opening with the pear. This one is actually a little bit more tart and fruity. It has top notes of raspberry, lychee, and bergamot, which are very noticeable because it definitely has a more tart fruit quality. It doesn't have the sweetness of the pear in the top. That's gone. This one doesn't come across as being as rosy. The original one, the older one, has a rosier scent. The middle notes are olibanum and rose. Olibanum is the more resinous note. But I'm picking up just a little bit of that, but the rose is not nearly as rosy. I would say that the older one, the older version of this, is a little bit more what I'd call old-fashioned, but not in any negative way, okay? A lot of people think of old-fashioned as being a bad thing, but it is a more traditional perfume. I guess that's another way to put it, is that, you know, that rose is a little bit more like classic perfume. This one, the rose is not. It's most likely a different kind of rose. It's probably a juicier one. In the original one, they call this a black rose, so it's definitely a little bit more heavy, sensual, aromatic, where this rose is probably a lot juicier. And also the raspberry, the bergamot is a lot brighter in this. They both had bergamot, but the bergamot stands out a little bit more. Base notes are a lot more simple. It gets rid of all the praline, the coffee, the incense, all that, you know. It gets rid of all that, and it keeps it very simple with just 3 notes: Tahitian, vanilla, patchouli, and papyrus. So the biggest thing that you're going to notice between these two is that they simplified the notes in the new version quite a bit. They really tapered them down, and they replaced my favorite note in there, the strawberry with a raspberry. And I'm not, you know, raspberry is okay, but it's not a strawberry for me. It's not bad, but it's not my favorite as much as the other one was. In a strange way, this one is more youthful. It's lighter, it's brighter. And because of that, not that it's a bad perfume. I've actually gotten, you know, a number of compliments when wearing the new version. It's not that it's a bad perfume at all. It smells very nice. But it's a lot more youthful, bright, effervescent. And I wouldn't necessarily call this like Tresor La Nuit, you know, the nighttime version. It doesn't have anything to me that's very dark or sensual about it, whereas the original definitely has that. It has that deeper dry down. Even the rose itself that they use in this is more noticeable, and it is a more traditional, classic, kind of sensual, kind of what I think of like as, you know, the old Hollywood, you know, glamour kind of rose, where this is probably a juicier, fruitier kind of rose. So my recommendation, if you were looking into these at all, it's going to be very hard to find the original one, because these are from 2015, and I don't know when exactly they stopped producing these bottles, but you know, those are not going to be easy to find. The reason I finally did find it is because thankfully the codes on it were very noticeable, and I was able to match it with the checkfresh.com, which is you're going to be able to punch in your name of your brand of your perfume and then the batch code, and I was able to find an older one. That's how I got a hold of it. And you're going to much easier find the new one, but the new one doesn't have as much personality. It's not a bad perfume. I find that these are also kind of a moderate longevity. You know, my skin did not completely eat either one of them up. So they last a decent amount of time. They're not super heavy, nor are they super light. They're kind of about medium, you know. So I would say that if you're looking into the new one, you might be disappointed if you're looking for something that feels very sensual or very nighttime appropriate, because to me, this could really be worn as more of a day or afternoon, not necessarily as an evening, and just unless you just really like the perfume. You know, it has a more youthful vibe. It's a more springy, frisky, effervescent kind of, you know, it's a little happier, a little more upbeat, where, you know, the original is definitely bringing that more gothic, sensual, deeper, a little bit more mysterious, still very sweet, right? Don't get me wrong, still very sweet fragrance. Oh, but the dry down's nice. Oh, yeah, that's why everybody likes this one so much. Even just now, as I've been sitting here talking about it. I know I'm just like sitting here huffing my arm. But, oh yeah, I mean, that is such a nice dry down. The pear, thankfully, which is a little syrupy, it dries down really quickly in the top on the old version, and you get those nicer, richer notes where I haven't had this on as long, but the new one, it's a brighter, fruitier scent. The rose is starting to emerge a little bit more, but it's still not the same kind of rose at all. The vanilla is a little bit stronger on the new one, but not intensely, right? And I think the main reason that the vanilla smells a little stronger and a little sweeter on the new one is because it doesn't have as many of the richer, deeper notes to contend with. So you're going to smell the vanilla more, obviously. Both good. The old is my favorite. You know, I feel bad for folks that have been a fan of this one for a long time, because I can understand where that would become something that you really get used to and really enjoy, because it's a real nice kind of, you know, sexy at dark gourmand, whereas the new one that's reformulated, it just doesn't feel appropriate to what it's, you know, being packaged as. That's really what I feel. It's not a bad fragrance at all, but it does not feel like a nighttime fragrance. So that's what I have to say about Tresor La Nuit, Lancome Lancome Tresor La Nuit, however you can just trade the words around. But that's how I feel about that one. Thank you so much for those who recommended it, and let me know what you might like me to get my little dragon claws on next to give it a sniff and tell you my thoughts about it. Until then, I shall see you soon, and I hope you stay well. Take care.